Every single week, I get dozens of cold messages on LinkedIn pitching me for things I'm actually looking for. But in the last 1 year, I haven't replied to a single one of them. And here's why. You see, this video is about LinkedIn outreach, the basics, the mistakes, and what actually gets replies in 2026. By the end of it, you'll understand what kind of messages fail, and hopefully you'll stop sending them as well. First of all, why LinkedIn at all? You see, it's the only channel where the identity actually comes attached. An email address is just a mystery box, whereas a LinkedIn profile tells you a person's job, their company, their last 3 opinions before you've even said a word. Now that context is the entire value of the platform. And remember that, because most people throw it away immediately. But I'm going to show you how to make use of it. Now, 2 things before we start off. The mechanics of LinkedIn outreach and the physics of LinkedIn outreach. And I apologize if this sounds a little scientific or technical. The mechanics are just the funnel. You send a connection request, they accept or they don't. Then you message, they reply or they don't. And every LinkedIn strategy on earth is just these 2 gates. But now the physics. LinkedIn never publishes a hard limit in terms of how many connection requests you can actually send in a given day. But in practice, a healthy and active account can send anywhere between 30 to 40 connection requests every single day. The word doing the hard work there is healthy. The ceiling is super behavioral. Look, new accounts, dormant accounts, and accounts whose invites keep getting ignored get throttled to a fraction of that. And LinkedIn doesn't really sell you the volume, you just have to earn it. Now, my own main and personal LinkedIn account sends 35 connection requests every single day, and so does the accounts of everyone else on my team. And the platform average acceptance rate sits just under 30%, and about 1 in 10 accepted connections actually reply to the message. So a full week of sending gets you about 60 connections and 6 real conversations. I know what you're thinking. Those numbers sound really bad, but trust me, they're fine. That just means every cent has to count. And cold email people find this genuinely upsetting, but just bear with me for a moment. Now, the first mistake a lot of people make when it comes to LinkedIn outreach is pitching in the connection requests. The no field is 300 characters and people still cram a full pitch in there with an offer, social proof, and a link. But here's the uncomfortable data. Requests with a note and requests without one actually get accepted at almost the same rate. In my personal experience, the campaigns that we run where we do send connection requests don't perform nearly as well as those where we don't. People accept based on who you are and not necessarily what you wrote, which means the pitch note does nothing except for telling them what's about to come. And on to mistake number 2, the speed run. Let's say you send a connection request that's accepted at 9:14 and then you deliver the pitch at 9:15. 4 paragraphs and a calendar link before the ink is even dry. Everyone and their mom recognizes this. The acceptance is just a door that's opening slightly. You're not really supposed to put your entire foot through it, right? And mistake number 3 is, to be honest, one of the worst crimes you can commit or make as someone running cold outreach on LinkedIn. And that's fake personalization. Something like, hey, loved your recent post, which is sent to someone whose recent post is a work anniversary from 2022. Or a congrats on your funding round for a round that closed during a different presidency. Or here's my favorite one, the template that arrives like, hey, first name with the curly brackets still attached. Look, personalization you didn't do is worse than none, right? Because none is just lazy and fake is lazy and dishonest. And you want to avoid that at all costs. Now, mistake number 4, and this is very true for people who are coming in from cold emailing, and that's called vaulting your brain. And that's treating LinkedIn like email, where the answer to bad results is more sending. Now, to be honest, this isn't really true for cold emailing either, and we're going to talk about that in another video. But LinkedIn is the one channel where that works backwards, because the system watches how you're received, and if you blast invites at people who ignore them, then your acceptance rate is going to drop. And a sustained drop in acceptance is exactly what triggers throttling. And that's what means you're not going to be able to send 35 to 40 connection requests every given day. If you send more, you get accepted less, and then you get allowed less. It compounds in exactly the wrong direction. Now, mistake number 5, and that's the worst one, the neglected profile. Before anyone accepts, they click on your face. And if your headline says, helping visionary founders scale to 8 figures with proven systems, then they already know what the DM is going to say. You're running the outreach against yourself. Your profile is the landing page for every single request that you send, and most people ship this broken. So the first thing you really want to do before you send out any campaigns is take a quick look at your profile, tweak it, and optimize it to make sure you're not running a sinking ship. Look, mistake number 6 is what really gives your outreach campaign a bad reputation, and this is called the follow-up bludgeon. Sending follow-ups like just bumping this or circling back Or the worst of all, sending a question mark, and dare I say 2 question marks, right? It didn't work the first time, and it sure as hell is not going to work the 7th time. The inbox is not a queue that you can jump by saying keywords, right? Sometimes you need to understand that silence after 2 to 3 follow-ups is an answer, and it just might not be the one that you wanted. Now, enough of the complaining and on to the things that you can do today to fix all of this, right? First of all, of course, your profile. You need a plain headline with what you do and who it's for with no adjectives. But of course, feel free to add a little bit of personality in there. Now, obviously, do not use AI-generated photos if you're running a real account. Use a real photo. And also make sure that your LinkedIn profile isn't dead. 1 to 2 recent posts, make sure that the other person thinks you're alive and actively trying to do something on LinkedIn. I know this is boring, but trust me, it helps move your acceptance rate more than anything you'll ever write in a note. Number 2, pick fewer and better people and pick them for a reason that exists in the world and not just your CRM. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make, especially when they're doing LinkedIn outreach at scale. You can't just blast these cold outreach messages to random leads who have nothing to do with your niche, nothing to do with your product, nothing to do with your offer, right? But if they posted about the exact problem you solve, or they complained about a competitor in public, or they're showing some hiring signals or fundraising signals, something that your product can help them with, or they ask for recommendations, that's the difference between reaching out to good people and a good list and reaching out to lists that are stale and then that are never going to give you a right reply. Now, number 3, the connection request itself. You either send this blank or with one honest sentence, something like, hey, saw your post on agency churn, we're building in that space. That's it. You're asking for a handshake when you first send that connection request, not a meeting, right? Let's keep that in mind because I keep seeing people mess up on this over and over again. And number 4, the first message. Now, the first message has to be 2 to 3 sentences. And sometimes, to be honest, I do send a paragraph with a bit more context that, it really depends on the campaign that you're trying to run. But keep it brief, keep it succinct, and keep it direct, right? One idea that's about them and not about you. And a question that they can answer from their phone in a taxi. No link, no deck, no Calendly. This is a very simple test. If you wouldn't say it across the table, don't type it. Number 5, and this is the easiest one to fix, obviously, it's follow-ups. Look, if someone hasn't replied to your message in 2-3 days, or even with a few bumps, then you need to give them a relevant thought, a useful resource, or a different angle, because they need a reason to reply to you, and that's only provided by giving them more context. Because if your third message is just, hey, bumping this up again, that's not really a third message. You're just being super annoying in their inbox, and it kills not only your brand reputation, but also your outreach reputation. Number 6, and this is pace and hygiene. You need to treat your account like a standard reputation because it has that. A warmed active account like mine, for example, handles anywhere between 30 to 40 invites in a given day, but a fresh one just doesn't. So you're better off starting low and climbing it up. Keep it steady, no 500 invite Mondays, and most importantly, withdraw the pending requests after 2 to 3 days because a pile of ignored invites tells LinkedIn that your targeting is bad. Now, number 7, look, when someone replies fast, you need to answer fast because interest on LinkedIn has a half-life of hours, not days. Because if you take all that time to reply to them, you've probably already lost them. Because keep in mind, you're not the only one running outreach on LinkedIn. They're getting bombarded with these messages. If you can't show to them that you're going to be there on time, answering their questions, then they're just not going to care, right? All the craft above is wasted if the reply sits for 2 days. And here's the honest part. Nothing I said is hard to understand. It's hard to do every day, right? Finding people at the right moment means reading half the internet, then researching each person, sequencing the touches, respecting the limits, checking 6 boxes for the replies. The judgment is super easy, but it's the grunt work that really kills it. And that's the actual reason we built BrandJet. You see, BrandJet listens across LinkedIn, X, Reddit, and the rest for moments that really matter. Mentions about your company, complaints about your competitor, and people asking for exactly what you sell. That's the signal layer. The whole reason that you want to reach out to someone when they're warm, found specifically for you, specifically for your business. One click turns a moment into a person, enriched from a database of verified B2B contacts. Then you can use LinkedIn Sequencer on our platform to run a native channel next to email, WhatsApp, and Instagram, with pacing that really protects your account's reputation instead of burning it. So all that worry about rotating accounts, rotating messages, you don't have to worry about a single thing. BrandJet handles all of that. Only thing you have to do is be smart about the strategy. Every reply from every channel just lands inside the inbox. And if building all of that sounds like work, you don't have to do it either. Just tell our AI agent Artemis and it handles every single thing with a single prompt. Now, my whole pitch in a single line is reach out when there's a reason and let the software find a reason for you. Nothing is a secret on the internet, and don't miss the ones that actually matter. And that's LinkedIn Outreach for you. Small numbers, real reasons, short messages, and fast replies. Link to BrandJet below is free to try, and if you ever catch yourself typing, I hope this message finds you well, just close the laptop, walk around the block, and start again.